Three former appointees of the John Mahama-led administration have been cautioned by the police CID on a charge of stealing. The three, former Lands and Natural Resources Minister Yusuf Husseini, former Minister of State Comfort Doyo Gansa, and former Brongahafo Regional Minister Eric Opoku, are being investigated by the police CID following accusations some earned double salaries while serving as ministers and MPs of state. They are to report at the police CID on May 14 as investigations continue. There is more in the following report.
Led by their lawyer Victor Kojogan Daudu, the three former appointees headed to the CID headquarters on Tuesday after hours of meeting a minority leader in parliament. Former Lands and Natural Resources Minister Yusuf Husseini told pressmen they were cautioned by the CID on a charge of stealing. He, however, accused government of trying to silence vocal members of the minority.
I have not stolen from government and I will not steal from government. The specific offense that they say they are investigating me for is stealing. If you steal with the use of force, you become a what? An armed robber. So I have not stolen, and I deny the charge with all the strength in me. I have not stolen anybody's property, not even government. Yeah.
So are you to report back?
Well, I'm to report back on the 14th of May at 9 o'clock, and I will ensure that I report back. Calumny has taken a better hold of this country, and that we are prepared to go after political opponents with such abiding fury.
For MP for Ada constituency Comfort Doyo Gansa, the pay structure used by the past administration is no different from what the current government is using.
A thief. Me, I'm not a thief. I work for the state, and the state gave me what I deserve. They have good accountants there. They have good people at the finance, and they have good auditors at the finance. If I owe the state, they will even write first to alert you that you owe the state. And if they have not done that, they can do that too on the quiet without our knowledge as a group. But they shouldn't target us because we are NDC. They shouldn't target us because whatever was given to me, President himself have benefited from him before.
But not all the NDC MPs who served as ministers are being investigated. So why do you interpret it directly as an attack?
Everybody got it. If they didn't serve anybody, because if you don't receive it pieces, they give it to you in bulk.
As it stands, the state is yet to formally charge them. Lawyer Victor Daudu is confident the charges will fall flat if the matter goes to court.
This is one of the most ridiculous things, because if they say stealing, what are we stealing? And one of my clients said, I'm not a thief, I'm a member of parliament. So that's why she's not a thief, and they haven't stolen anything. We will wait. We will not impede them. Let's do their investigation. We will not be told who is a complainer in the matter so that we can confront our accuser. Now we are seeing novelty in criminal proceedings. We will wait. But I can assure everybody, with the strength in me and everything backed by the law, that
the leadership meeting with the speaker then decided that for purposes of reconciling this, what we're being told, we decided to appoint a two-member committee involving the Honorable Kutose, himself a former deputy minister at the Ministry of Finance, later Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance, who had some dealings with emoluments to MP ministers, and also the Honorable Atuforsen. We charge these two people to touch base with our finance directorate to let us know what really has happened and advise. And we could engage the police after further also touching base with the Controller and Accountant General. The difficulty that I'm having is that not to after we established the committee, about I think 2 weeks or so after, Atu, who was supposed to join Kutose, stepped out and then said that what was happening, I mean, I understand he led the press conference to say that what was happening was witch hunt, nobody had done anything, and so on and so forth. Whereas at the same time, within our own fold, admissions have been made that, okay, yes, this thing happened, but how do we resolve it?
Admissions were made from the minority MPs that they indeed took double salaries. I
wouldn't say minority MPs. From former MP ministers and deputy ministers, that these things happened. They were inadvertent, explanations were given, and we're trying to find a way to resolve it. So if these things are going on, and then somebody steps out from the room to say that, this is witch hunt, nothing happened, and so on, then one begins to question, where are we? Where are we as a nation?
And you asked that question because of what you describe as people already admitting that this had happened.
We're trying to, in fact, even yesterday, let me say this, even yesterday, my senior colleague, Alban, who himself had been cited, and the minority leader, we were together. And the minority leader himself has spoken to the president that some intervention must be done in order to save the image of Parliament.
You mean Haruna has spoken directly to the Nanado?
Yes, I can confess to this. And
asking for what exactly?
That these things would further inflict a mortal wound on Parliament. I'm not involved, but I must admit that I'm a member of Parliament. And if a colleague is involved, remember, one person went and dealt in drugs. Just one person. And then the whole of the then majority group, including even the Parliament of Ghana, was roped into it. So if it affects a member of Parliament, even if it is one person, it affects the integrity of all of us.
Also, police in the Central Region have begun examining forensic evidence at the crime scene where 3 children were found dead in a private vehicle. The children, aged 3, 5 and 6, went missing after they went for a Sunday church service unaccompanied at Elmina. Police have so far picked one suspect in connection with the incident who is helping them in the investigation. The Central Regional Minister and the Regional Police Commander on Tuesday visited the crime scene and the bereaved family and assured them justice would be served. Richard Kojonyako was there and has filed this report.
It's barely 24 hours after the bodies of 3 children were found in a private car at Elmina. The children, Mami Ekua, aged 5, Fifi, aged 6, and Nyanayao, aged 3, went to church on Sunday and never returned. Many people at Elmina cannot hold back their tears. The bizarre incident has shocked the Elmina community, who are demanding justice for the kids. Central Regional Police Commander DCOP Paul Awini, who visited the crime scene and a bereaved family on Tuesday with the Central Regional Minister, says the police are on top of their game and will get to the bottom of the matter.
Because of the seriousness of the case, the regional police headquarters has taken over the case, and we have constituted a very strong team, investigation team, led by the regional crime officer, to try to unravel what caused the death.
Central Regional Minister Kwame Nadankan has charged the police to do all they can to unravel the mystery behind the death of the children. He pledged the support of the Municipal Assembly for the bereaved family.
A major news, and from the story, as though a certain, what I call, long arm of even this juju thing and all of that. So it shook all of us. It's one that we do not have to take it lightly. And so I trust in your capacity as the commander and also the command, and we do not have to leave anything to chance. And we need to follow through to ensure that if it was one that the kids themselves found their way into the vehicle, then we are quite sorry that it happened that way, and then we'll use the opportunity also to advise parents that they must not leave their kids at this level unaccompanied.
The proprietor of the preparatory school and owner of the vehicle has been granted police enquiry bail. Richard Kwejenyakon, Joy News, Elmina.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin. Authorities at the University of Ghana promised to sanction those found culpable in the clashes on campus, which resulted in destruction to property.
We have a disciplinary committee, and no student who falls foul of these offences will be left.
And then former workers of the now defunct UTA Bank and Capital Bank mount pressure for the payment of their entitlements. We'll be speaking to them right after the break station. Now, staff of collapsed UT and Capital Bank have been assured they will get their Provident Fund and end-of-service benefits, which have been outstanding for the past 7 months. They claim an official of PricewaterhouseCoopers has said the benefits have not been paid because it has been pledged against staff loans. The staff in a statement called for the intervention of the Finance Minister and Parliament to get their money. Stephen Ernest Enning, he speaks for the former workers of Capital and UT Banks, and he has joined me in the studio to tell us more about the situation. Good evening, Mr. Enning, and thanks for making time to join us. Now, how many workers have so far been affected, and what entitlements are due you?
So far, the workers affected are about 1,100. Some were absorbed into GCB mainstream, so those that are home currently are 610 people.
So those who are were absorbed into GCB. Are Correct. You also fighting for them? Because I want to think that they have their jobs going.
No, they are also inclusive of this because they are also entitled to the exit package.
Have they really exited? Were they not absorbed?
They have been absorbed into GCB, but a letter was given to us for their contracts terminated for the ex-bank, both for UT and Capital Bank. So this is a new employment contract that they have with GCB. So therefore, they are entitled to this exit package as we speak.
What headway, if at all, have you made in your attempts to get this thing sorted out?
For the past 7 months, we've been patient. We've exhausted all the processes and procedures. We've engaged the various stakeholders through UNICOF. So we've not have anything. We've not heard anything from them. That is why we seek to.
Apparently, you had the UNICOF broker some deal on your behalf. What was the deal?
For the purposes of this, I don't want to go into the actual figures, but it was agreed in October 2017.
You don't have to go into the figures. You could say probably you're entitled to 10 months salary or...
No, they were giving us 2 months salary times the number of years you worked. So that was the deal.
And this has not been forthcoming.
Yes.
What's their challenge? What's holding it up?
We don't know. There is no information forthcoming to us. We go to our representative, that's UNICOF, and they tell us mostly, in fact, almost every time, that the finance minister and the governor of Bank of Ghana are always busy and they are not in town. So there is no information forthcoming for us to act on.
Okay. How different is it from your Provident Fund, which you should be entitled to, because it's essentially your money?
Yes, it is different because the Provident Fund were monies that we contributed.
Yes.
For UT staff, ours was paid, although it was subjected to some loan deductions, which was wrong.
So you were paid? The UT staff have theirs?
Were paid. Ex-UT staff were paid that amount, which was wrong because it was subjected to loan deductions. In fact, we never pledged those monies to those loans. What our brothers Capital Bank are seeking to do is that they have not been paid because PwC as receivers think that those monies were pledged to loans, which is not so. So they are not giving the farm managers to go ahead to release the funds.
But isn't it fair that if you are in the employment of any organization and you take staff loans and you also have your Provident Fund, at any point in time when you default on your loan, they can fall on your Provident Fund?
But it's also fair to say that these monies or these people owe us a severance package, so they can use that to defray their loans as and when they pay.
Now, you also describe what is happening as, corporates the power of the corporates against the staff. Why do you say that?
Basically, you know, institutions have much muscle. We, the downtrodden one, we have nobody to speak to us. That is why we termed it that we coined it.
You say you the downtrodden. You can't exactly be the downtrodden because you were part of this organization. You supported in pushing the organization forward. Whatever benefits came from the organization, you benefited. The workers can't say that they were aloof and they did not benefit from...
That is not what I mean. What I meant was that those of us that are down the corporate ladder, it's difficult for you to get your grievances up there. So what we are saying is that the corporate institutions has a bigger muscle, a bigger PR system to run us out. That is how come we decided that a corporate institution, the power of the corporate...
Who would you rather be blamed for all that's happening to you right now?
I don't want to apportion blames right now. What I seek to do now is that the government will heed to our plea and come to our aid because we're suffering.
Would you, as workers, want to take part of the blame for the collapse of the banks?
We did our part as workers.
Would you want to take part of the blame?
For us, no.
Why not?
Like I said, we did our bit.
Because you were working, you were involved.
We were working, but we're doing our bit and following procedures and processes laid down. So at what point must we take the blame?
There have been suggestions that all that before the collapse of these banks, there was talk. The workers were aware that things were not going well. They knew things that were happening that shouldn't have happened, and yet they kept quiet about it. You only gossiped amongst yourself.
Are you seeking to suggest that we should have come public with whatever was happening?
Oh, so you had information?
What I'm saying is that, do you seek to suggest that whatever was going on, or if there was any internal wrangling or internal information, are you asking that we, as workers, should have come out with it? Because there are processes. You just don't go...
What are the processes?
You don't go out of your way and grant...
Did you follow the processes?
And give it to... Yes.
Did you notify the regulator?
Notify the regulator. The regulators are supposed to be a check on us. So they come by and do audits, drills, so they would be able to speak to your question.
So again, I'm asking, would you want to accept part of the blame for the collapse?
Like I said, I don't think we are part of the blame and the collapse of the banks. I mean, everybody has a role to play. You might be able to ask some members, some senior members, the board, or anything, this question. For me, I don't think that for where I sit, we're part of the blame.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ening, for making time to speak to us, and we hope that you have your issues resolved as quickly as possible.
Thank you very much, Israel, and thank you for having me.
All right, and where you're still watching Joy News Prime, and another news, students of the University of Ghana Commonwealth Hall who may have been involved in Monday's clash on campus are likely to face sanctions. University authorities say they will take action once they receive a formal police report on the incident which left one person injured. Meanwhile, the deployment of police officers to the university campus Monday evening could not stop an overnight attack on some students of Mensa Saba Hall, where glass doors were smashed and some properties vandalized. Joy News' Komladum has more.
The night after clashes erupted on the campus of the University of Ghana between students of KNUST's Katanga Hall and the University of Ghana's Mensa Saba Hall, and then some students of Commonwealth Hall. An overnight attack at the reading room of Mensa Saba Hall by some masked men left the doors in ruins. Shattered glasses, some property also destroyed. Here's a student at the hall narrating what happened.
Around 1:30, that was when they actually attacked the annex and the door glass and also some liver blades. So basically, that's what happened. But shortly after that, we heard some sirens, believing that possibly the police came around.
Former JCR president of the Mensa Sabaho, Nikome, would not mince words in condemning the attacks, which may have been sparked by an age-old rivalry.
Clashes could have been avoided if the security men had taken precaution about what they were told. I think some of them were informed that usually when these things happen, the people retaliate and they come back down there. So if they are taking us seriously, they would have been on their feet and use their intelligence to sort this thing out. We condemn the attacks, and we from Mensa Sabaho really want to say that this is not what we are, this is not how we are. We believe common sense rules. We believe that we should proceed with knowledge and to bring honor and to serve our society.
University authorities say they are awaiting an official report from the police on the skirmishes to mete out sanctions to those found culpable. Stella Amwa is Director of Public Affairs.
The police is currently carrying out the investigation. The police will not give you any interim report. If they will, it will be submitted formally. Now, this incident took place yesterday. We have a Dean of Student Affairs primarily, so I defer to the Dean of Student Affairs in this matter to be able to compile such reports from the various halls of residents that were affected. Acts of violations will be dealt with, and we have a disciplinary committee, and no student who falls foul of these offences will be left.
The recent attacks have, however, triggered a decision by university authorities to review arrangements for holding such inter-school competitions to avoid such clashes. SLC President Daniel Otinyewa has been speaking about Monday's confrontations.
Our Dean of Students, after the meeting, would have to agree that whether any students from University of Ghana is going out or is coming in, we have to demand the student ID numbers of whoever is coming, just to authenticate that the person, first of all, has the permit or authorization from his institution, his or her institution, to come to University of Ghana, or we have authorization from our institution to go to other campuses. But yesterday, what happened, the coming of the students of the residents of Katanga Hall was by authorization. Registrar was aware we were having such a debate. The Dean of Students was duly informed that we were having such a debate. So it was a legal thing that was happening. What was not supposed to have happened was the unfortunate circumstance of electric rioting on campus. That is what we regret so much, and we think it is very unfortunate that it happened on our campus. Very, very unfortunate. There's been times where we even involve national security, because sometimes even military in disguise. But then it depends on the kind of program that we are having. But since we realized it was a student thing, and we're just going to foster intellectual debate and intellectual supremacy, we only involve the university security.
Mino, a student of a university seen being brutalized in a viral video and getting his hair violently shaved amidst hefty slaps at the hands of some persons suspected to be Katangese, will soon receive a compensation package.
The Student Representative Council of the University of Ghana has a welfare committee. Now, what it does is it is in charge of all of these things. Yesterday, even at the incident, myself, I went to the police stations with the welfare committee head, and she's already started making plans of trying to compensate the person who was injured. So those arrangements are already being done, and it's not a new thing that we'd have to go and push.
The intellectuals debate, which brought the students from KNUST's Katanga Hall to the university, has since been called off while police continue investigations into the clashes.
We're taking a break to bring you business news with Emmanuel Abwajuyafe.
Hello again, good evening to you. Time now for business. The Agric Ministry has assured recent reports of fall armyworm invasion of some farms in parts of the country is under control. This comes on the back of media reports that the pests said to have destroyed over 14,000 hectares of maize farms last year have resurfaced in areas around the southern belt, including Obuasi, Doma and Agogo. The development has led to some international organizations like the USAID caution the situation could pose a major threat to the country's food security. Deputy Minister of Agric, George Udu, however, tells Joy Business his outfit has instituted the required measures to manage the situation.
Farms in Obuasi, Doma and Agogo are among areas where the fall armyworms have again been sighted. Speaking to Joy Business, the Deputy Minister for Agric, George Odro, explained that after visiting the fields, the situation is firmly under control.
So far, we have not recorded any loss as at now, because the chemicals are there at every district in the country. In the southern sector here, this is where we have started the planting. The northern sector, we have not started the planting. So every district in the southern sector here, we have enough chemicals. So as soon as it shows up, then the farmer will just inform the district director of Agric, and the chemical will be supplied to the farmer free of charge. And when it is applied, they are gone. So I've been to the field the whole of last week. I was not in Accra. I was on the field, and we have a success story to tell that the chemicals have been effective and the farmers are reporting promptly. So as at now, we are not having any problem so far as the armyworms are concerned.
The Deputy Minister further added the previous incidents barely affected yields last year.
Last year, it affected about 5%. That one is true. It affected about 5%, but that wasn't much. So it didn't affect our total production, not at all.
Sheila Tamaklu for Joy Business.
Now, Ghana's energy sector is to experience a facelift as multinational energy giant Siemens offers to invest about $200 million for the establishment of a 600 megawatts thermal plant. This was made known at the Ghana Industrial Customer Workshop under the theme, Electrification as a Catalyst for Growth. Charles Aite has more in this report.
The country's energy sector seems to record significant improvement. This is because multinational energy giant Siemens is currently investing over $200 million in Ghana's energy sector. The investment will see the establishment of a combined cycle power plant with a capacity of 660 megawatt thermal plant aimed at boosting the distribution of power in the country. Andreas Pistora is the executive vice president for Siemens Power and Gas Africa. He spoke to Joy Business.
The Siemens engagement now focuses on the Rotom project, a fantastic project. It might be the first F-class, highest efficiency combined cycle project in sub-Saharan Africa. That saves about 50% of the fuel compared to other projects. And it was outlined by the CEO during the conference, around about a $200 million savings over the lifetime, just due to the lower fuel consumption. So this means that for Ghanaians, this is not only efficient power generation, but it's also very cost-effective.
On his part, policy advisor at the Ministry of Energy and former CEO of Gridco says government is resolved to increase private sector participation in the distribution of power. According to him, with 25% of excess power being exported to neighboring Ivory Coast, Ghana's energy sector is very committed to attracting the needed investment.
There are so many people who are in here looking for investments in the energy sector. It's just that for now, we need to watch what is coming in. If you have too much in the system, you'd have to pay for capacity charges. So the government is looking at that carefully to ensure that we don't have way too many people coming in. It all relates to money. I mean, of course, everything is money, but we know very well that the tariffs used not to be good. So many of the utilities were having challenges financially, and then there was no way they could invest. Well, under the arrangements with the U.S. government, the MCC, there is supposed to be a private participant in the distribution business. So that's what I was talking about through MEDA.
Meanwhile, Siemens has also registered its intention to add about 300 megawatts of power to the national grid by 2023.
The Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, has set up a monitoring committee to ensure that the newly inaugurated Ghana International Trade Commission undertakes its responsibility of enhancing fair trade practices for the private sector. The monitoring committee will, in the coming days, recommend sanctions on some imported goods that are trading in the Ghanaian market through illicit means. The Ghana International Trade Commission was inaugurated by President Akufo-Addo last month. Ebenezer Sabote has more in this report.
The 9-member monitoring committee of the Association of Ghana Industries and some other private sector business organizations is to boost the advocacy for fair trade by Ghanaian manufacturers. At a short ceremony to inaugurate the committee, Vice President of the AGI, Humphrey Yim Dakem, disclosed that cases of special import prohibition measures such as special anti-dumping duties and tariff adjustment have suffered delays. Chairman of the committee, Dr. Dawson Amwa, has hinted that the committee will be working strongly to ensure that unfair trade practices practices become a thing of the past. This will be done through initiatives including anti-dumping tariff on selected goods entering the country.
The GITC committee of AGI, representing the private sector, we don't have the power to impose, but we have the power, obligation to recommend for imposition. That is the truth. So our committee is to ensure that we collate. We really have our members ready to recommend from our end as petitioners. We are alleging for the commission to investigate and impose. So there's never a duplication or conflict. So we are here as a supporting function to our members to make sure that we put together our facts of allegation, evidence-based, for the commission to impose. We don't have the right to impose. Anti-dumping duties, no. We recommend for anti-dumping duties. We recommend for countervailing duties. We recommend for adjustment of tariffs. So that is our function. And it's a function for the GITC Commission to impose. I think that is the clear.
Vice President Eyimdake has been explaining in an interview the sole motive for setting up the committee.
The work of the board or the commission, it's very wide. And gathering data, information to adjudicate in the capacity of an appeal court to impose tariffs, countervailing measures, and other related issues can bring about trade war. Specifically, one of the panel members did say the situation in the U.S. is a clear case that one can refer to. So if we do not conform to the research base laid down by the WTO in gathering the relevant information to make a case against tariff set, it could be very challenging. Our work and our determination as a committee is to aid and support the Commission in gathering relevant data that will make the determination of their recommendation to government sound and evidence-based.
The AGI therefore admits that the unfair trade is not limited to imports only, but unfair competition emanating from the domestic trade where companies collude and involve themselves in anti-competitive pricing to gain market dominance.
The projected increase in prices of petroleum products could trigger upward adjustments to transport fares in the coming weeks. The Institute of Energy Security, NHIS, says all the key determinants of pricing were pointing towards an increment in petroleum prices for the second pricing window of April. Principal researcher Richmond Roxon explained this further when he spoke with me earlier on the marketplace.
The factors that influence petroleum prices on the local market have been negative. If you check, you realize that the S&P Global Platts benchmark shows clearly that petrol and diesel prices went up. Petrol went up by about 6%, diesel went up by about 5%. We check our exchange rate, our CD moved from 4 cedi 51 pesos to 4 cedi 55 pesos, a depreciation of about 0.5%. On what pricing will be. Crude oil prices are also going up on the international market as it speaks, is trading around $72 per barrel as compared to the previous average of $66, which is a price change of about 4%. So these are the indicators that are influencing prices negatively.
Now, Richmond,
second pricing window.
Okay.
If you check our statement, we are still paying 10 pesos for LPG, 10 pesos for gas oil, and 12 pesos for gasoline. And in our statement, we also captured that this imminent increase can be abated if the National Petroleum Authority decides to trigger the price stabilization mechanism, which normally we depend on the price stabilization of recovery levy to be able to deal with it. Once the government feels like consumers have already seen an increase in the first pricing window, government can kickstart that stabilization mechanism to be able to keep prices where they are now. If not, then consumers must be prepared to pay for it.
And that was Principal Researcher of the IAS, Richmond Roxon, ending tonight's business on Joy News Prime. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. We have there's more news ahead. Don't go away.
Welcome back. Now, residents along the Jerry's Pop Bar, popularly known as Atemuda, at East Legon have expressed anger over what they say is the inhumane manner in which the police, in conjunction with the AMA, stormed the area to demolish their structures. Joy News is learning that police earlier on Sunday stormed the popular pub and arrested 6 persons, including the owner, for allegedly selling narcotics. The police, according to the residents, stormed the area on Tuesday to demolish structures in the vicinity, assaulting them in the process. Nancy Fajradozi was there earlier and reports.
Understand that some few hours ago, the police led by Kwesi Fori stormed this place, destroyed some property belonging to the Jerry's bar, which we properly call the Atemuda bar, some water sellers, some fruit sellers, and also lastly they also brought down the building of Filippo Tilapia. All we understand is that on Sunday the police stormed this place with about some 15 vehicles to come and arrest the owner of the Jerry's bar. Well, we understand that they say that the man sells drinks that has narcotics in them. The man is still in police custody. We don't know what has happened to him now, but what we know is that there are people here whose fruits, whose items have been destroyed by the police, and they have been lamenting to Joy News.
I was somewhere where my workers called me that, well, actually my workers live in the uncompleted house behind where I operate. They called me that the police people are here to vandalize the whole place. So I asked them to move everything inside the compound, since the compound is a private person's land, not the government's land, which they did. But I understand they beat some of them up and then asked them to bring everything out again for them to carry out to AMA. So that's what happened. As to the reason why, I can't tell. I don't do any bad thing. It is food I sell to the general public. And I am very much aware, even the president likes my food. Because we are in the middle of the month. At the end of the month, my workers will start stretching their hand, and I have to look for money of over about 40,000 plus to pay salaries. As to where I'm going to get it, I don't know.
Me fruits were 35 years in here.
I've been selling fruit here for the past 35 years. This is what has sustained my children and I over the years. What will I do now? How do I take care of my children after my goods have been totally destroyed? I am not a prostitute. I don't deal in drugs. If the police want to destroy structures, why touch mine?
Let's speak to some of the workers who we understand have been beaten. We understand that when the police came, they just took them on and then, beat them up. We see some of them with some bruises on their faces, on their arms. And so we'll get to speak to a few of them. One person is called Enoch. He was beaten by the police. Let's try and get an eyewitness account from him. Enoch, what exactly happened today?
Policemen came in numbers. So as we were packing the things, my manager just had a call from my boss that we shouldn't let the police people enter, so that they should bring the items out, so that the things should be indoor there. So I told my colleagues that this is what they said, so they should let the things inside. So as I was talking, one policeman was watching me, and he was asking me, what am I saying to my colleagues? And I said, oh, I'm not anything. So I made my mind that I'm going home. So I just pick up my bag, that I'm passing the bag over there. Then he started calling me. So I made my mind that I won't mind him. So I just run to the back there, then he followed me. There were 2 in numbers. Actually, when they caught me up, one just slapped me in front of my face, started beating me up. Then they took me to the car, handcuffed me. So I was in the car before my boss came. That is so I shouldn't worry.
Now, NHIS scheme manager for Subing in the Ashanti region capital Kumasi wants government to consider taxing alcoholic drinks and cigarettes to raise more revenue to help sustain the scheme. Kojo Jumo says though people who drink alcohol or smoke cigarette have a much greater chance of contracting diseases, the premium they pay is no different from what other subscribers pay. Mohamed Nuruddin has more in this report.
The subscribers of National Health Insurance Scheme pay at least 23 cedis premium annually. Mr. Jumo finds it inadequate and wants other sources of funding to augment the premium.
We have a financing gap, like you know, because the premiums levels are very low, and considering the escalating costs in healthcare delivery. So if something can be done about the premiums levels, because we want to make the scheme sustainable. And making it sustainable means that there should be some little adjustment in the premiums so that government and the authority will be able to settle their indebtedness as and when. People are drinking alcohol. Meanwhile, they are paying lower premiums, and government is financing them. So if taxes can be put on alcohol to support the scheme, I think Ghana will be a better place for all of us.
Mr. Jumo spoke to the media during a visit to the office by Member of Parliament for Subin Eugene Boachi entry.
And what the challenges are irregular breakdown of printing equipment, which you have to look at helping them, and also to find ways of making sure that the company runs successfully. You came here, you saw a mass of people here this morning trying to get access to the scheme, trying to come to register, come to renew their schemes.
During the rounds, the MP also promises to engage with officials of Zumi Lion to have this refuse dam cleared.
We are having some difficulty with the Zumi Lion people who are working here because they said they want to add the money of the container. Because when we load container, is 200. We pay 250 Ghana each container.
Every day or month?
No, and every day, every container that they took here, we pay 250 Ghana. When it happens like that, and there is no container, we put it on the ground because they are the ones supposed to supply containers here. So when you don't bring container and they bring boiler, how are we going to do?
We know what Zumi Lion wants us to do. We are going to have a consultative executive meeting tonight and deliberate over these matters and see the best way forward to ensure that both parties, get the necessary satisfaction.
Meanwhile, assembly members in the area highlighted security among other challenges confronting their communities. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reporting.
It's been over 24 hours since residents of Fuvome at Keta and the Volta region lost their homes in a yearly cycle of flooding from tidal waves. This is not the first time residents of the town have lost their homes to tidal waves. Unfortunately, a new site earmarked for the resettlement, according to Journey's correspondent Ivy Seltoji, was also flooded. Here is one of the affected victims.
This issue occurs every year. We are trying so hard to let the government know we need help, but nothing has been done yet. Our homes have been destroyed and we have nowhere else to go or sleep now. All we need is for government to build a sea defense wall for us.
Deputy Director of the Volta Regional Admo says their outfit has yet to take any action because they have yet to ascertain the extent of damage caused. Ivy Atemuda spoke to my colleague Giftiando Apia on the Pulse earlier.
As at this morning, the report we had from the district director was that the affected houses along the sea were 20 in number as at this morning. And we are waiting for the detailed report from the district director so that the region can move in with the needed items to help relieve their problem. For now, we are waiting for the director to give orders and then the detailed report. We cannot go in or take any actions without the detailed report. There were no damages, but 20 houses were affected, as in the destroy of properties and lives. They recorded nothing as at this morning, and there were no casualties as well. So we are waiting for the detailed report at the regional level before we can know the kind of relief items to send to them. Now, I can't specifically tell you I'm sending mattress or whatever, but until I get the detailed report, this is what I can say on it.
The Ghana Physicians Association has called off its indefinite strike following the release on bail of one of its members. Simon Takrama was remanded by Circuit Court in Somanya last week for his involvement in the death of 4 patients at the New Senchi Health Center. Mr. Takrama's lawyer had argued in court on Tuesday that his client was not directly involved in the administration of the injections blamed for the deaths of the patients. Correspondent Kofi Sian was in court for Joy News.
The strike by the physician assistants was called on Monday to protest the arrest and detention of Simon Takrama and the disease control officer James Yeboah after 4 patients said to have been administered a penicillin injection at the New Senche Health Center later died. Tuesday's High Court decision quashes an earlier ruling by the Somenya Circuit Court a fortnight ago. The Circuit Court did not take the plea of the suspects when they appeared before it and remanded them into prison custody. Counsel for Simon Takrama, dissatisfied with the decision of the court, filed a motion for bail at the High Court. Musa Suleimana argued that his client had no knowledge of the offense because he was absent at work on the said day. This was upheld by the sitting judge after prosecution failed to challenge the motion. While the physician assistant was granted bail, the disease control officer, James Yeboah, who had no legal representation, was kept in custody. Members of the Ghana Physician Association who were in court to solidarize with their colleague called off their strike. Peter Aram Kunyefu is the General Secretary.
Issued a press release directing all physician assistants nationwide to effective from Monday 16, 2018, wear red armbands and sit down at their respective workplaces without attending to clients in order to register their displeasure about the incarceration of ex-colleague Mr. Simon Takrama in an incident which has been known to the media now as the New Senche benzathine penicillin. To our clients, we apologize for the action, but it was a necessary call.
Meanwhile, the association is urging government to engage them to resolve issues related to the welfare of members. Chairman of the group, Chief Moro, says the association will be compelled to lay down its tools if government fails to engage them in the shortest possible time.
We will not stop here. We have a lot of issues at stake, and we think that with immediate effect, the Minister's Office, the Ghana Health Service Directorate Office will have to engage us immediately so that we will solve all these issues.
Simon Takrama was admitted to a sum of 20,000 Ghana cedis bail with 2 sureties. Kofi Sian reporting for Joy News, Koforidua.
There have been several interventions to empower women in rural communities to help lift households from poverty. In the northern region, for instance, some hard-working women are putting in several hours of work in order to be able to support their families. Joy News' Adeliatha reports a rice processing company at Nasia in the West Mamprese district is supporting dozens of women by offering them an opportunity to earn a living.
Madam Abiba is unable to tell me how old she is, but her wrinkles tell you she's been around for several decades. At her age, she should be resting at home with her children and grandchildren doting on her. She, however, has to come to the Tamana rice processing factory to work, explaining she has to make money to cater for her 6 grandchildren.
I do parboiling and then dry the grains afterwards. I'm not familiar with the currency, but I receive 5 of the 10 cedis notes each month.
She talks proudly about getting her eldest grandchild into senior high school.
One of my grandchildren is now at the Yendi Senior High School. Their mother is not here. She left for Accra, where she works as a head porter.
Madam Abiba is not alone. Several other women like her work at the Tamana rice processing factory here at Nasia about an hour's drive from Tamale.
1.5. I take 150 cedis monthly. The money I earn together with what my husband makes from the farm helps us to provide for our children.
Managing director of the rice processing factory says the company engages about 300 women in its rice production value chain. The women cultivate rice and also help with processing and marketing of the Nasia Star rice.
There are about 21 women who boldly told me they were every year, whenever they finish with their farming season, they go to Kaya South to do this mini job. But they've stopped since the startup of this place. They've stopped going there. And the 14 delegated women who are also doing the sales, they make not less than, their average a day they make is 30 Ghana cedis. And in a month, when you rate what they get, at least you get an average of 800 Ghana cedis.
There are also added incentives for the women.
We have some widowers women who are here. We are providing them with some kind of 20 Ghana cedis weekly plus soap to also go and wash their clothes. It is not part of their salaries and all those things.
The mill here is also available for use by farmers who want to polish rice. After harvesting rice from her farm, Aisha to Suleimana brings it here for polishing.
We get 15 bags of rice when the harvest is good. Sometimes we get only 4 bags or nothing at all. We only pray for a good harvest the following season. I sell the rice here after milling. We measure using this container and we charge 9 cedis for each.
It's a difficult job, she says, but one she has to do to be able to support her husband and 3 children.
It is tiring for me. The stressful nature of the job has made me lose so much weight.
The factory, which was established in 2016 with support from EDIF and Exim Bank, is able to put on average about 2,000 metric tons of processed rice on the market every month. But managers intend to scale up operations so more women can be engaged.
We have the ability to expand because day in, day out, the market, they keep on increasing. And I think Ghanaians are more switching more into the local rice. So we have the intention of increasing the capacity from the current 20 tons to 50 tons.
The money the women who work here make may seem inadequate compared to what some women in the country's cities make. But the hardworking women of Nasia and neighboring communities are grateful for the opportunity to earn money, which they say sees them through challenging times. Adelaide Arthur, Joy News, Nasia, Northern Region.
ActionAid International has called on African leaders to address the reforms needed to improve governance across the continent. Outlining its projects on African governance architecture, the group said the focus on raising awareness and engagement with the African Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance will create a better continent. Efwa Evans-Chinri reports.
In 2017, a new Pan-African initiative to mobilize civil society for joint action to push for the implementation of the African Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance was started under the EC PANAF project. The EC PANAF project aims at mobilizing civil society support for implementation of the African Charter for Democracy, Elections and Governance, and broadly the African governance architecture. The project, which is implemented in 8 countries, include Nigeria, Sierra Leone and Zambia. Civil society groups in these countries will work together to strengthen democracies in their countries. Baba Khan is the African advocacy advisor of ActionAid International. He says African leaders must work together to ensure that they bridge the gap between the rich and the poor.
For this project to succeed, we have to invest time and energy and resources to raise the awareness of the people, be it our partners, even the government side, civil society, the media fraternity, so that we all own it, we all understand it. That Africa could have been a lot better if countries imbibe this culture, and the principles enshrined within the ACDEC. Because in the first place, it talks about the unconstitutional removal of government is out. And it talks about people's participation in the electoral processes at the national level. Be it women, be it youth, across board, everybody who is qualified to contest and be contested for, supposed to participate. But that's not what we've seen happen. We've seen unconstitutional means by which governments stay in power. They either change the constitution, they either do it through the guns, on some other quarters, which is contrary to the views in the AGDEC. So that's why I said, if governments do understand what is enshrined, what is entailed in the AGDEC, definitely would have been a lot more better.
Margaret Brew-Ward is the Advocacy and Campaigns Manager for ActionAid Ghana. She says the youth must be empowered to take over leadership roles in Ghana.
We believe that though Ghana has signed or ratified this charter from the African Union, we can still do more to domesticate and implement it. Because somebody will say, oh, but we are not like other countries. We have peaceful elections, peaceful transfer of power. But the charter also demands that engagement and full participation of women, youth, and persons with disability. So as Ghana, we can ask ourselves, what percentage of parliamentarians constitute women? What is the percentage for youth? What is the percentage for people with disability or persons with disability? When we come to our district assemblies, what is the situation there? When we are developing programs at the local level and the national level, do we take these things into consideration? So that is how we are going to look at it. After signing or ratifying, we need to look at the domestication, and Ghana can do more. We've already trained the youth, we've mobilized them, and they've started working.
Now, President Akufo-Addo says he's determined to ensure opportunities are created in Ghana to address the needless deaths on the high seas of Ghanaians fleeing the economic hardship in the country. Delivering the keynote address at the second edition of the UK-Ghana Investment Summit organized by the UK-Ghana Chamber of Commerce, President Akufo-Addo said he is convinced expanding the economy will create the needed jobs for the teeming youth. He told the gathering his government is keen on establishing a business-friendly economy to attract foreign direct investment to exploit Ghana's great potential on mutually satisfactory terms.
On establishing a business-friendly economy to attract foreign direct investments to exploit our country's great potential on mutually satisfactory terms. Investments are protected in fact and in law. The rule of law in Ghana is not a slogan, but an operating principle of state development. We want to participate in the global marketplace, not on the basis of the exports of raw materials, but on the basis of things we make. We want to bring greater dignity to the lives of millions of people in Ghana. We want to build a Ghana beyond aid. I believe very strongly that Ghana is in the cusp of a new bold beginning which will repudiate the recent culture of failure. And I'm expectant that this summit will help facilitate partnerships between Ghanaian and British companies and create the common platform that generates ideas and nurtures them into success. It is my hope that exchanges of this sort will enable the strong relations between Ghana and the United Kingdom to grow even stronger.
The president also highlighted some key areas of the Ghanaian economy that need support, singling out the infrastructural deficit facing the country.
A key challenge of our economy, like many other economies in Africa, is its infrastructural deficit. We're embarking on an aggressive public-private partnership program to attract investment in the development of both our road and railway infrastructure. We are hopeful that with solid private sector participation, we can develop a modern railway network with strong production center linkages and with the potential to connect us to our neighbors to the north, i.e. Burkina Faso, to the west, i.e. Côte d'Ivoire, and to the east, i.e. Togo. We believe that this is an area where British technology and expertise would be very welcome.
Now, quick headlines now in the bulletin. 3 appointees in the erstwhile John Mahama administration cited in double salary saga, facing charges of stealing. The majority leader has meanwhile made a few revelations on the matter, including concessions by some former minister MPs that they indeed took double salaries. Authorities at the University of Ghana have promised to sanction those found culpable in the clashes on campus which resulted in destruction to property. Small business owners around the popular East Legon pub raided by the police on Sunday accused city authorities of brutalities in the demolition of their structures on Tuesday. In business, Deputy Agric Minister assures the re-emergence of armyworms in parts of the country has been brought under control. The former workers of the now defunct UTE Bank and Capital Bank have been mounting pressure for the payment of their entitlements.